Hello, welcome to the 5-0 Info Show. I am your host, Sergeant Bower with the Phoenix Police Department's Public Affairs Bureau and coordinator for Silent Witness. I'm here with my co-host, Sergeant Rob Scherer.
How are we doing?
Doing well.
Host.
Oh, this is second time in the seat, and it's a large seat, but it's going to be hard to fill without LT here, huh?
You're a big deal, though. You can do this. We all know.
We also have another special guest with us. It's Detective Mike Fischer. Mike, you are currently the sole detective for Silent Witness, right?
Yeah, that'd be correct. And let me say real quick, it's an honor being here with you guys today, and thanks for the invite.
Absolutely.
How long have you been doing this, Mike?
I've been with Silent Witness program for over 15 years now, and originally I was supposed to go to the DARE program, but plans changed and I ended up here.
So you've seen a lot of the evolution over a decade and a half of what's happened, like when you first got here to where it is now. Obviously, there's technology changes and some advancements with website, what you guys can do with that. What are some of the, other than that, some of the bigger changes that you've seen that's made this program, what it is, the successes that come out of it? I know you guys can't all the time talk about those successes because anonymity is the key in this whole cog. But let's talk about just the program itself and what's advanced since you started this.
Yeah, the thing about this program of Silent Witness is that, like you said, we cannot go into detail. We get tips. Somebody may call us, send in a tip on a computer or a phone. And even though there's an arrest made with that information that was received, we cannot go into detail and say exactly what happened because we want to keep that person anonymous, totally anonymous. And sometimes, though, this person that called in and led to, help us with the arrest, they themselves go to the media, and that happens once in a while. But we always explain to them that on this side here with Silent Witness, you're totally anonymous. But technology-wise, we have more access now with the computers, with phones. More people are calling in tips, which is good. And we always remind people that regardless of how simple the tip may be, to go ahead and call us. And all we do is we get the information, we send it to the detective that has the case, whether it's a burglary, a homicide, a robbery. We send it on to them and let them decide whether it's a good tip or not. They'll look into it, but we do not decide whether the tip is good or not. We just send it on.
I think that's probably a good point, though. It's regardless of how important you think the tip is, it's always better just to give that to the detectives because, as you would know, Rob, is as a detective sergeant yourself, is some of those smallest pieces of information that might be overlooked from the general public could be the key in solving a lot of your crimes.
Yeah, I think tips, and I always say I got them from you, Mike, back in the good old days when we did this stuff together quite often. But tips I would get, again, from Mike, the smallest ones, it was wild. Some of the ones you're like, thanks for that, but this is going nowhere. That ends up being that breadcrumb that leads us down that path that we end up closing, 1, 2, 3, 4, sometimes 15 cases at a time in robbery. And even some of those that are like, this is that person, we vet those as investigators. We then communicate back with you whether it's a good tip or not a good tip or it resulted in that arrest. There's a real built-in relationship that you, Mike, and everybody from your guys' team has established, not only within our department. I think you guys have done wonders over the last couple of years of really advancing outside of Phoenix Police Department, working with outside agencies in the West Valley and the East Valley. It's really brought this program to support the whole Valley as a whole, which I know that's your goal. So I commend you guys on that. But yeah, you guys working with detectives the way you do is another key part of this, not just those citizens in the community taking care of themselves, but really you guys running that program.
And Mike, before we jump into these cases, can you tell the viewers that it's not just the flyers or the cases that they see on our websites or that they see on news that they can call in on, right?
Basically, we ask the public if they have any information on a felony-related crime to call us and give us the information, and we pass it on. That's why I always stress that we pass the information on regardless of how important it may seem or unimportant, but we always just ask you, just send it to us and let us send it on. But like Sergeant Scherer was saying too, we're a little task force here where we send information, we help out other departments, not just Phoenix, but all around the Metro Phoenix area. And we get requests from Gila River, from Mesa PD, Glendale PD, and they just simply ask for a flyer. We do up a flyer, and it's satisfying when you put a flyer on the website or on the news, and all of a sudden you start getting calls on, hey, I know who that is. I recognize that vehicle. It's parked right next door to me. And you're like, wow, we pass that info on. And then when you get a call from the detective saying, hey, guess what? That was the vehicle. That was the suspect. That's the good thing about it. And then some people too, like, we always talk about rewards, and you'd be surprised. Sometimes people call us and we explain to them, hey, this tip number that I'm going to give you, it's a confidential number that only you have, and this is how you claim your reward. And right away they'll say, you know what, I'm not calling in for any reward. I'm calling in because it's the right thing to do. And that's the satisfying part when you hear that. And they could care less about the reward. And that's all we ask, just call us up.
Yeah, having that information and giving it, through you guys to investigators or to officers to use that to solve crimes, that's always the right thing to do. And it's cool to hear some of those stories. I think about you for 15 years, some of the cool stories that you have to have. Obviously, you guys can't share. You guys work with the media all the time, but you guys can't share in that way the success stories. But it's got to be pretty fulfilling for you guys to get some of those stories where, we'll sit down and talk about these, and you guys know pretty intricate details on a ton of cases, to be frank. What if I'm someday get in an argument with, say, my mother-in-law, which I love my mother-in-law, by the way, but say my mother-in-law has a felony warrant, but you guys don't have a flyer. Do I still have the ability to call in and be like, hey, so-and-so has a warrant, this is where they're at, go get them?
Yeah, we get a lot of those tips where they'll put the person's name, their date of birth, because that helps. That's a big plus there, and their address. And they'll also tell you, like, hey, this guy also works at this place between these hours, and he also takes a nap between these hours, and you can find him in his room. And I'm like, wow. And you pass that on, the detective calls you and tells you, hey, all that info, yeah, it was right on. And they arrested the person. But as long as it's a felony-related crime, it doesn't have to be a flyer, because there's no way that we're going to list every crime that occurs in the Phoenix area on a flyer. So, like, your question is, so we do not have to have a flyer made up for it. As long as you call us up, you give us the information, we can find the information. If it's a Glendale case, we'll call Glendale, and they'll tell us, yeah, we had this robbery occur last Thursday, just like the tipster said, and we'll check it out, and it pans out. So that's the part about the program. It's all anonymous, and it works.
Well, let's just jump into this one right here. The first case that we're going to showcase is going to be a fatal hit and run. Can you tell us what the media case number is that folks can research it, as well as a little bit of information about it?
Yeah, this media case number is going to be a 2024 4278. 2024 meaning that that's the year, the first 4 digits is the year that the crime occurred. We have cases that go back all the way to the 80s. So this one being 2024, that's when it occurred. So this one was a fatal hit and run. It happened in the area of 27th Avenue, just north of Bethany Home. And the victim was ran over by a vehicle, which you have a picture of that. It's an Infiniti. And a lot of the times, even though it may be blurry, the picture's totally blurry, but like you guys were saying earlier, this tipster may know exactly where it occurred, what vehicle it was, and all of a sudden this person is not driving that car. And that's the stuff that we get all the time. Like, they kind of put it together, and we do the rest.
You mentioned that this is an Infiniti. These pictures can be seen by our viewers on our website, our YouTube channel, as well as silentwitness.org. Is there anything specific about this vehicle that they might be able to keep in mind as they're driving around their neighborhood?
Well, what we have from the detectives is a 2006 gray Infiniti, and it had faded paint. So that's the cases that we basically, and this happened on September 20th of 2024 on a Friday around 8:40 p.m. And that's exactly what we're saying. When people see this, even though it could be a week later, a month later, they kind of put it together and they'll say, hey, my neighbor hasn't driven this vehicle since that date, and it's been in the backyard. And that's where we come in. We check it out regardless of what city it is. We send it over to detectives, and they'll check it out. And
say someone that is someone's neighbor, and they know them, and they get that feeling that's not right. That doesn't seem right. They're all of a sudden that car's never in the garage, or now it's on the side of the house and it's covered, or something like that. What would you say to them to encourage them to call you guys, give that information, keep their name out of it, but what would you say to push them over the edge to really, do that right thing that you were talking about earlier?
Well, that feeling that they have, first of all, is when they see the story and they kind of put it all together, and they feel that that could be the vehicle involved, but at the same time, they don't want to get their neighbor in trouble. Well, the way it works is we're not going to send the SWAT team over there just because we get a tip and bust door downs and everything. But we look into it, we check it out. And sometimes, like if the detective feels that, yeah, that is the vehicle, they get DNA out of that, because sometimes this vehicle is just sitting there and the DNA from the victim is still there. Or you may have picked up evidence at the scene, like broken glass, broken windshield, whatever, and it matches up to that vehicle. It's missing a mirror, it's missing whatever, but that's how that works. So we ask the tipsters to call us.
So let's jump into this next one, because the next one's completely different than the hit and run fatal accident. This one is a felony theft. Can you give us, again, the media number and a quick description of the people we're looking for?
Yeah, the media number, and this one's going to be 2024-4300. Happened in 2024, of course. And this happened at a Valvoline store, of all places. They change oil in your vehicle. And the suspects we're looking for are Hispanic male, approximately 5'6", 120 pounds, and the other guy is going to be a white male, 5'7", 120 pounds. And what they did is they walked into the business located at 21,000 North Cave Creek Road in Phoenix, and they walked in and stole a bunch of batteries that were in the display case right inside the business as soon as you walk in. And they just basically walked out with the batteries. They loaded it up into a car and took off. And the great thing about these cases is sometimes we have great video where somebody will just see the case. That's why it's, silentwitness.org. You just go under and scroll through there and search cases by crime, robberies, homicides.
That's what's so nice about a lot of these crimes now is a lot of technological advances. We have surveillance cameras in almost every store. We get good pictures, faces, tattooed descriptions. There's a lot of information that our viewers out there might be able to recognize suspects, be able to solve the crimes that are affecting you and your community. Just simply visit silentwitness.org. Call in at 480-WITNESS if you have any information about felony cases that we may or may not have on files. Anything that may be affecting your community, reach out to Silent Witness and receive our help. I want to thank our special guest, Detective Fischer, for providing these cases for us. Sergeant Scherer, thank you again for hanging out with me as we continue with this 5-0 Info Show.
Fought through it, Brian. Good work.
Awesome. And remember, you too can help solve crimes in your community.
One sec, Brian. Let me get 1 second. First off, Mike, I want to give you a shout out. Okay, you've worked behind the scenes for 15 years, dude, and you have directly impacted, with the community's help, but you've directly impacted so many cases in these last 15 years to do your part to help those investigations, get solved. And I bet you don't even fathom the number, just me working around you for many of those years. You don't fathom the number and the work that you've done to help solve so many cases. Your guys' group and all of that, it's incredible work that you guys do. It's very important. Your guys' program, that Silent Witness program, is essential to us solving a lot of the cases. And I think you guys, I don't think you guys grasp how much you guys do for the community. And it's all behind, that curtain. You guys don't see the impact you guys do, on an everyday basis. And I appreciate, you for doing it so long, and obviously all the work you guys have done the last couple of years.
You too can help us solve crimes in your community by going on to silentwitness.org, providing those tips, calling into 480-WITNESS with any information that may find information leading to an arrest. We are hiring here at the Phoenix Police Department. You can receive more information by going to joinphxpd.com. We look forward to meeting with you and being back with more cases next time.